Hello, and welcome to episode 73 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast, where we talk all things flying and aviation in midlife. My name's Ben. I'm a commercial-rated pilot here in the Atlanta metro area, flying a Cessna 182, affectionately called the Beast. Tonight, we have my friend, Brian, a private pilot living in Nashville, home of the Bachelorette Super Charlie, and that was in full force this past weekend. You were not kidding. Brian flies a Cherokee 180 named Lucy. Hello, Brian.
How's it going, Ben? It's been just a few hours since we were all together.
It kind of feels like it. Also joining us tonight, we have Ted, our sport pilot extraordinaire, coming to us from Portlandia. He flies a flight design CTLS we call the Egg. Hello, Ted. I forgot your name.
Hey. I don't know who I am either. Yeah. How you doing?
I'm good. I think maybe I'm doing a little bit better than you two knuckleheads.
It's true. It's true. Normally I don't sound like a Hasidic Barry White. I don't know what I sound like, but it's something. So we're just rolling with it.
Just rolling with it.
Yes.
We'll get through this together. I've got your backs. Want to take care of a few housekeeping issues, and we'll get right into the meat of the episode. We broadcast live on YouTube, mostly every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. The live chat is open. We've got a very big group tonight. See a few newer folks that I haven't seen before, and see a lot of the old crew as well. The audio podcast is at iTunes, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are found. Be sure and please to give us a subscribe or a follow or whatever button your podcaster plays. And not above bribing, we have some new items in our merch store, stickers probably if you give us a 5-star review. We love getting feedback and your suggestions, so keep the emails and voicemails coming. You can do that through our website or through midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com. And you can find all the links to Patreon, our merch store, our contact information at our website, which is midlifepilotpodcast.com. So we do have a few new Patreon members I'd like to get on with. Trying to help you save your voice, Brian, because I know you usually do this, but I'm allowing you to rest a little bit.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We've got several people in the Beast Stole kit. We have Shalom S., a person who likes to be known as unsupervised, which I might have to use that one of these days. Aaron R., and very proud to say our friend RH has joined us. At the Hershey bar level, we've got Flint C., who joined us this past weekend, as well as Juliet Echo Foxtrot, who's in the chat right now, and I think Flint's in the chat as well. Thank you guys at the Hershey bar level. Lastly, at the Landomatic, we've got Mike W., Mark T., Larry K., and Kristen B. So thank you all very much for your support. We really do appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely.
For sure.
So,
and, one of the questions that I kept getting was, how do I join Discord when I'm in the Patreon? And yes, I understand that that takes a little bit to figure out. Once you've signed up for Patreon, you can go into Patreon, go to settings and connected apps and do it from there. But it's okay. If you can't figure that out, just contact us, midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com, or however you want to get hold of us. We'll help you through it.
Yeah, I would love for everybody to be able to get connected.
Yeah.
So tonight's will be really about just finding out what everybody did last weekend. Did you guys do anything fun last weekend?
Not really. No.
It seemed a little bit like a dream. Oh, wow. We're getting some sort of an error here. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think that's only us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, it seemed like a dream to have everybody here. And I have to say, really quickly, I just kind of got used to it, especially it being my town. Everybody's here. Let's do this all the time. Let's do this every weekend. It was an amazing fly-in. the distances that people came, the difficulties that they endured to come or to get back to where they came from, and all that, it's overwhelming. But I think that pretty quickly, it's evident in a scenario like that where you realize, as much as we are maybe the drivers to sort of just set it up in some way, man, it had a life of its own. Everybody took care of everything and helped each other out. And it wasn't about us as a podcast. It was about us as a community. And that made it just so special. I'm still kind of shocked and amazed at how many people came and how great of a time we had.
Yeah.
I've been reflecting on it a lot. And, I'm kind of one of those, as I've said before, I'm an extrovert who really wants to be an introvert, but doesn't know how. And I'll seek out people. If I'm at a party and somebody's by themselves, I'll seek them out and go talk with them. And I was like trying to do that this weekend, and nobody was really ever alone for any period of time. Everybody was, it didn't matter what part of the country you're from, what you were flying, what you did, what your station in life is, how old you were, how young you were. Everybody seemed to mix with everybody a lot better. It was just amazing.
Yeah, I didn't notice any, striation. There was, there's not, hey, I brought a plane. I didn't. I'm an experienced pilot. I'm not, right? The only time that we ever knew who had a plane was when we were trying to assign seats in them. It just, we're all pilots and we're all having a great time.
I will say, I think the stress that we felt leading up to it really made the winds that happened on Saturday go away or something. I don't know what happened, but we were really kind of stressing out about what we were going to do Saturday if we weren't able to fly, which I'm sure we would have come up with something, but it turned out awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody had any problems, no mechanicals, just everything went as smoothly as it could have possibly gone. And when you consider how the initial planning of this went months ago and all the hurdles that we had to kind of get through to see it through, with our compound getting canceled on us and then having to find an alternative and all, I mean, everybody hung with the changes. Everybody, and that's really what the spirit of the whole thing has been. I think also, I think what I just really enjoyed more than anything was seeing how everyone that was there was naturally, intuitively, commonly in touch with kind of the frequency of the value of this community and how particular it is to be a midlife pilot, what that means. Not necessarily all of us are career people and all that. So I heard several people, and we have, some kind of hip shot interviews and things that we shot while we were there of people while we were out. And when I was going back through that footage today, which, I shared out in the community, but people can use it in their videos or do whatever you want with it. But I found it really interesting that the through line, without even it being directed in any way, was community. And I felt alone when I got into this. I felt like I didn't have a friend in aviation. And so these guys or this community or whatever has served to be a kind of a bridge between me getting started in aviation and then me building my own network locally or abroad or whatever. So I just was really in awe of that. And it felt really special in that. But also, what a hilarious bunch of just characters from all these different backgrounds and jobs and all that. And, Ben, it started for us on Thursday, even though the event started on Friday. We really started it on Thursday. I flew out to the mountains to meet you guys in Blairsville, Georgia. And then we brought it back in from there. And that's where it started.
It did. I knew it was going to be a fun weekend when when you get on with ATC. You flew out ahead of me, and we get a controller that I guess was just having a bad day. And I think it was an Atlanta Center controller. Just to his credit, he said, "I need your call sign and airplane type." And then you gave him your call sign, your airplane type, and just the fact that you're going to John Tune. And he comes back on. It says, "Hey, buddy, I only asked for your call sign and airplane type." And I'm thinking, all right, the fun is already starting and we're just got into the air.
If I remember correctly, it was all I needed was your tail and type, buddy.
Yeah, it was pretty. And then immediately gave you a frequency switch, and so I said, I'm not talking to that guy. I'm going to go to the frequency you went to, and but no problems getting in. We had a fun little breakfast in Blairsville, Georgia, Delta Zulu Juliet. Great little airport, beautiful, nice long runway. Although, so Chris C and Biff B flew commercially into Atlanta, and then worked up enough courage to get in the plane with me and fly up to Blairsville. And I'm coming in, and I'm like, I'm a little high, but the runway's really long. It's 4,400 feet, and Chris, who flies out of a 12,000 foot runway, goes, "Really?
Thinking, yeah.
You sure about that?" So
that's a short field for Chris. Yeah.
It's a short field for him. And it would be for me too if I was landing on a 12,000 foot runway all the time.
Yeah. Why does this runway say Wrigley's on it?
So, yeah. And then we made it up to Nashville and had a good evening. Where did we go to dinner?
We went to Blue Moon.
Blue Moon.
Oh, yeah. It's
Isn't that
down
right?
in the water.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah. That was the
water.
first, the pre-show dinner. And by then, Cheryl and some others had already joined us. So
that's right. Yep.
That was great. And it was a nice way to get it all started. And then Friday came and we were,
hang on.
The weather.
So Blue Moon.
Yeah.
Is it Blue Moon? That's where we went last time, which has been a year and a half. But who was sitting at the table right behind us? A table full of bachelorettes.
Oh, yeah.
Because of course it is, because it's Portland.
And you flew down with some bachelorettes on your flight
I did.
From Portland.
Yep.
And there was another 12 dozen of them in our hotel room.
Yeah, exactly. Not in my room, but it was in the hotel for sure.
Well,
I'm not supposed to say that.
Is your out loud voice, Ben? Yeah. No, so that was really cool. That was a great dinner. Nice to meet Cheryl that night and kind of, get some information about her new plane and how she found out about the podcast. And she's in that same category that a lot of us were, which is I looked on YouTube for how to land and I found Chris Moran's video. And so that seems to be such a common thing. And
so that video is the gateway drug then, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I would be remiss. I would be remiss, by the way, before I forget, I just want to say 3 people actually that I really missed is OG midlife pilot Chris Moran, Michael Young, and Josh MC.
Yes.
And probably some others for sure, but we've had, we've almost got like alumni now. So when somebody can't be there for any reason, it's like, oh man, how come 75 people's schedules don't perfectly align,
Exactly.
I mean, where are their priorities?
I know.
Yeah. It's crazy.
But no, that was awesome. And then Friday was a blast because now we were trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do with our day? Because arrivals are just going to be kind of coming into John Tune as they do, and people arriving all the other ways as they do. There wasn't, be here at this time until the Friday night hang. So we had the choice to, go, okay, what are we doing today? And we had very different experiences. I'll just go ahead and say that I was really excited to take some folks up to do a downtown tour of Nashville. You just got to Nashville. Let me take you into the Charlie and we'll do some orbits around, Broadway and all that. It's a really fun, sort of easy flight to do if you can get into the Charlie. And Friday was wild. And so we went out west of John Tune and just kind of played around in the kind of practice area. I showed them the airplane house, where I don't know my jets, but it's a 7-something-7 that somebody made a house out of that's in the trees out there. Went out and checked that out and some other things, and then was trying to get on with Nashville, and I was concerned that I was going to make them nauseous because I was trying to just sort of stay in this area and kind of kept doing turns while we waited for probably 20 or 30 minutes and could not get a word in. I mean, it was just rapid fire madness the whole time. I did get one request in, And then all that I heard back was stay clear of the class Charlie. And it wasn't
Yes.
like, and I'll get back to you. It was just like, please go back.
Leave me alone. Go away.
Please disappear, Cherokee.
Very few breaks in the radio
I
chatter
will agree
through
that
the whole
our
thing.
experiences were different, and to back up what you were saying, on Thursday night, our friends Evan and Sam S. and their friend Paul had joined us, and I mentioned that I needed to get a couple of instrument approaches in, and Sam's eyes perked up immediately. And he says, do you have anybody there with you? And I'm like, well, not yet. I'm looking. And I was like, kind of hoping to have a CFI with me. And he's like, absolutely. And I also had Chris C. and Mike Alpha Golf join us in the back seat. And I decided to file to Dixon, which is very close by to the west. And I filed to around Robin, is what the IFR people call it. It's back to John Toon with a stop or an approach into Dixon. And we're sitting at the end of the runway, and we did our run up. We called the tower ready, and they said, waiting on your IFR release. 10 minutes goes by. Tower says, still waiting. Another 10 minutes goes by. Yep, we're still waiting. I said, cancel the IFR clearance. We'll just go VFR and just do this on our own. So I went from the Nashville controllers of being my controller to Sam S being my controller, which was just as good. And I specifically told Sam, I want a helmet fire. I want you to put me through my paces. I want the real hardcore Sam S. And be careful what you ask for. He really put me through my paces, and he's really if I were to become an instructor, I would want his demeanor. It was great. And I did have a helmet fire. Mike Alpha Golf posted in the Discord. He took a picture of both of us, and Sam had a crown, and I had fire coming out of my head. That was great. So we got our couple of approaches in. We did a low approach at Dixon, and then did a pretty decent landing coming back into Toon. We finally did get a hold of Nashville approach when we left Dixon, and then they cleared us into the Charlie because we wanted to shoot one more approach. And if you did that, you're going to have to go inside the Charlie to do it. So we actually were able to get in and shoot one more approach. So it was great. And Sam was awesome. There was a point in time when he could ask me my name, and I would have had to tell him stand by.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I was glad that I got to be there at the FBO when he was giving you the debrief. And it is, and this is a great comment from Chris C that I'm seeing here. I want to be 19-year-old Sam when I grow up. CFI Sam. Yeah. I mean, there's something so cool and kind of egalitarian about aviation, right? It's like, here is, Ben is, you're what, like 75 years old now or whatever, right?
Compared to Sam.
And Sam is 19. We're looking at Sam thinking, when I was 19, no one should be taking notes on anything that I have to say in any format, in any subject area. So to see him, not only is he so great clearly in the plane, but just the way that he debriefed with you, I thought was so effective. And you guys had a great back and forth that I could see was really valuable for you.
It was. I've noticed the last two IFR flights I've taken that my altitude discipline is lacking. I'll go 100 feet, 200 feet above and catch it and immediately correct it. I need to be a lot better about that. And that was the very first thing he said. And then there was something I never knew about IFR, and I won't go into the weeds.
Oh, the clouds?
No, not quite that. Actually, I did know about those. Some approaches have step downs where you can go to this altitude and then this altitude, and some of them are just a constant descent. And we talked about that I had watched some YouTubers call out each of their step downs. So I'm 3,400 to 3,000 is my next step down. That's where I need to be at the next point. He's said, if it's published, you don't have to worry about the middle step downs. If it's a published vertical guidance, then you don't have to worry about it. And that was something that was also probably distracting me from something else that I probably should have been doing. So it was some insight that I'd never really considered before. And I thought it was very helpful. So I really enjoyed the time with them. Yeah, just like everybody else saying, I want to be Sam, the 19-year-old version of Sam when I grow up.
And Ted, you got in commercial just in time for our evening hang.
I did. Yeah. As of 2 months ago, Alaska Airlines flies direct from Portland to Nashville. And that made it really easy for me to get to Nashville. And yeah, so, get a car and went to the hotel just to get a room so it wasn't too late, and then went straight to the restaurant from there. And I got this, I knew I was going to rent a big enough vehicle to haul people around since I was renting anyway. And I got this giant three row seat thing that holds 7 people. And as somebody who drives small cars and has small planes, that was big. And
it's like an RV for you.
Exactly. But man, 7 people, we had it full most of the time. And yeah.
Thank God you had that thing, because
man.
You were a helpful shuttle for sure.
Definitely.
So do you know what happened on Sunday morning with Biff with that? We were all headed to the airport to take people there, and the car was full. I counted 7 people, got into it. We got over to John Toon, and Biff texted me. He's like, "Hey, I'm at the hotel." I'm like, "You have to get an Uber." We were full. That's the last I heard about it. Because again, we're adults. We can self-organize. And, that thing of like, I don't need to worry about this. People will take care of themselves was really the theme of the whole weekend.
Yeah.
So,
no, and that's and I always want people to know that while we are talking about this, it really should serve to inspire other people to have smaller meetups, local meetups, the value of getting together with others and sharing in community and being resourceful together and helping each other solve problems and all the things. It's a huge value. But and speaking of problems, we weren't sure with our planning. We definitely didn't want to have any plans where we were promising a venue or anything, a number of people, or we didn't know how many. It's aviation. You can't plan. We had no idea how many people were coming. Well, we had a brewery that's in my neighborhood. We just showed up, and it turned out that they were having a slow night, and boy, did they have a great night. We had so many people out. It was incredible. Everybody had a great time. And so that went really well. I think
here's the interesting thing. And again, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you mentioned having meetups all over the country and your own little group. We were in there, and I saw this guy come out. I can't remember his name. He was of Indian descent, and his wife was running in the marathon. And he had asked some people that went inside, what was going on. He was a 737 pilot. And he couldn't believe that he could come out and hang out with a bunch of GA. I mean, it was serendipitous, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
You just never know what's going to happen.
Well, there was a couple of moments like that. I mean, there's another one we'll get into in a bit here. But yeah, anyway, everybody had a great time. It was a great meetup Friday night. And then, Saturday was the day where we were thinking, okay, what are we going to do here? What's the plan? What's the weather going to allow for? And we really thought the weather was going to be terrible. It was totally fine. We lucked out. So we all piled in planes, and some people came down in cars in various ways, but we all went to Tullahoma and went and visited the Beechcraft Heritage Museum and got to see a lot of, what do you call them? Meat missiles, skydivers.
Skydivers.
And, bunch of things going on. It's such a fun airport, but I would like, Ben, for you to give your observation of what it was like when we were all leaving John Toon. Did you catch all the things that were happening there when we were all departing for Tullahoma?
I don't know if I caught all of it.
Maybe because you were early.
Yeah. What do you mean I was early?
I'll just say it. By the time it got to me, I was the last person, I think, but it got to the point where the controller was basically just saying, oh. Yeah. Like it took everything in my power to not just go, yep, we're with all the other numbnuts.
Let me describe for our listening audience.
Yeah.
I was number 4 or 5, and we had kind of given a brief before everybody went to their airplanes to get cranked up and leaving. And we said, it's best, you have to stay under 2,400 feet, which is the floor of the Charlie. And you need to maybe inform Tower that you're going to head west, get out from the Charlie, and then head south to Tullahoma. So, of course, first person calls up, what's your direction of flight? West, and then we're going to go south. Second guy, we're going to head west. Then he goes, where are you going? He goes, Tullahoma. And then by the time it got to me, I think it was number 4, number 5. All I had to say is, I'm with those guys.
Yeah.
He goes, great. I need you to fly 240 heading when you take, it was just, it kind of became the road. But I do want to take a quick step back. This was in one of the interviews, which what we're planning on doing with those, by the way, is we're going to cut them up and then maybe we'll scatter them out over the next 3 or 4 episodes to give people a real flavor of what it was like at Saturday night. But Brian
to me before we take off and said, hey, we would have photographers down there. I want to put them in your plane.
Hey, Ben, your mic switched.
Yeah, very suddenly there.
This is great because Ben was so happy when this episode started that his mic was correctly selected and did not go to this weird room mic thing that he's got for clandestine house surveillance or whatever he's got going in there.
How about now?
We're back?
Nope.
Nope.
And now?
Nope.
Better?
No. This is great. I've been waiting for this moment. Well, whatever you do, don't turn your thing off and then back on because
That's for sure. So you
it
still
makes
can't hear me?
it makes my syncing later with everything an absolute nightmare.
How about
But
now?
no, is your mic plugged in?
I'll put
Does it have lights on it?
it does.
Have you ever been to what is the line in an airplane? Have you ever been in a
Turkish
Turkish prison?
Yes. Do you like gladiator movies? Such a great movie. Yeah.
So
One more
funny.
minute.
Well, we'll just carry on. Oh yeah. It doesn't have a battery.
No.
Oh, look at this. Everybody's laughing. Everybody laugh at Ben, please.
How about now? We any better?
Nope. Yes. So this is actually the most technical difficulties we've ever had in an episode.
Yeah, like cumulative difficulties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben, it's been
Check
nice
one,
having
two.
you.
Check
Look,
1, 2.
No.
I just think you've done a great job on this podcast and everything. It's been great, man. But I mean,
Click.
shh.
check 1, 2.
Oh, wait.
Check 1, 2.
Yeah, he's back.
Yay.
All right, so just
Okay,
don't
so-
click anything else. Don't move your body.
I'm
Yeah.
putting my hands in my pockets and I'm just going to.
Yeah, just don't even look at it.
So anyway, Brian tells me to put the photographers in mind. And I'm thinking, that's great. Because Brian wanted to get these videos of everybody kind of coming in. It would have been a great shot. So I'm thinking, yeah, I'll take them down because that means I get to go first. And let me fix the gain on here. Is that better?
Too hot. Bring it back.
I think the auto gain is getting in there.
How about now? Better?
Too hot.
Better?
Too hot.
How about
Please
now?
do.
Better?
Great.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So I'm thinking I'm going to be the first one there. Nobody's going to film my landing. Of course, we find out when we get to the airport that we didn't have the video, folks. And I end up being the 7th one landing. And as I'm crossing midfield, I look down and in the grass standing right next to the airport were like 8 people holding their cameras watching my landing. So anyway, it was a good one. So I wasn't worried about it. But anyway, that was just part of the fun.
Well, and Ted made a well-timed barbecue run to feed us after we were kind of coming out of the Beechcraft Heritage Museum. So that was great. I mean, really, if you're in this area or you're ever coming through, please go to Tullahoma and go to the Beechcraft Heritage Museum. They're very kind. It's a very well presented archive, and I've been there 4 times, I think, and I still haven't seen or been able to take in fully everything. I see something new every time I'm there. So big shout out, thanks to everybody in Tullahoma. It was awesome, and everybody had a great time. And they had, I'm sure we got some photos of this somewhere, but they had a whole line of Adirondacks out on the sort of porch of this place. And there was one point where I thought there's nothing more midlife that I have ever seen than just this, 25 Adirondacks with all of us just sitting out there, just, looking at the grass.
It would be great if we could maybe pull some of those pictures and start posting them in Patreon, I think, and share it with the rest of the group.
We'll put together a
good flavor to it.
Yeah. So then returning back to Nashville was pretty smooth. Did you have a good flight?
I did. I got on Nashville Approach, and our friend Scott Weckler happened to be controlling me. When I checked in, he said, "Hey, I recognize that voice." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And we had a pretty good laugh about it Saturday night at dinner, because he tells me, VFR descent, my discretion, which in my mind is controller talk with, you could start down now if you want to, kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
And then he said, I'm going to put you on the left downwind for 20, which is a little bit unusual.
Yep.
And he gave me a very specific heading of 005. And when I turned to that heading, I was looking straight at one of those massive towers.
Yeah.
Now, I still would have been above it, but I said, I'm going to go to 009. How about that?
005.5. Anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it was kind of cool. It was a different perspective because, there's a couple of them out there. But yeah, it was a really cool experience. And
since you got put on the left downwind for 20, and a certain young lady that lives at my house who was out on our porch watching everybody on 4Flight, she sent you a video of, didn't she send you a video of us flying over our house?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. It's so awesome.
That was really cool. So, and then we got everybody back safe and sound to John Tune. And somebody had posted in Discord a flight aware shot of a line of planes on its way down to Tullahoma, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, it looked like it needed the Ride of the Valkyries playing over it.
Right. So then we went and just kind of hung out for a while. And again, every time we've gotten together, this time and the 3 previous times, it's the hangouts, man. It's exactly what I enjoyed the most. Flying is fun, don't get me wrong, but it was just kind of hanging out and just really having a good time.
Yes. Well, there wasn't. I didn't have as much hangout time because I wanted to catch everybody taxiing out of Tullahoma, just get some footage with the GoPro sitting on the taxiway, and hope that I didn't get in trouble for doing that with anybody else. And but then I'm flying back in a light sport, so we've taken the slowest plane. I'm going last back, so that was a lot of my time coming back. Was
how was the Technum?
Oh man, the Technum is so great. So Keith C took me in his Technum, which has, obviously it's a light sport, has the same engine. It's less egg looking. It's more stretched out in
looks more like an airplane.
Exactly. It looks like an Italian airplane.
It's like the Cardinal of light sports.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was great. There's a couple things that are different about it, and just great to ride with a new pilot that you haven't been with before. And I did all the radio calls, which was great to, just kind of split off responsibility there. In fact, on the way down, NC Flyer was flying, was that 70 Whiskey, which is Window Geek's plane and NC Flyer's plane. He was flying that. He was 500 feet below us. And the whole way, he's just sitting there doing 10 knots faster than us, 500 feet below us. And so there's this whole time where it's like we can't see him, but we know he's catching up. And then pretty soon, okay, he's below us. And then he just never was very far in front of us. It's, we just kind of got to watch him the whole trip. So it was definitely Flight of the Valkyries. We're just all just,
were the flight characteristics of the Technum or the feel similar to your Egg?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's very similar.
Okay.
the because the stall is so low in those, and the weight is so similar that they have a lot of the same handling. You notice the difference on manufacturers how they choose to set it up, but you could get into any one of those and have a pretty good idea what you're doing. So it was good.
Good. And then I had the experience of, for whatever reason, one dull geek had never flown with me before. And so he rode with me back from Tullahoma to Nashville. And even before we got in the plane, he just pronouncedly looks at me and goes, I am going to watch and observe every detail of everything that you are doing and that you do. And it starts now. He's like, with the briefing, he's like, I want to see end to end exactly how you do everything that you do. And I just thought,
no pressure.
No pressure. When Wendell Geek says I passed my check ride. Thank you. It kind of felt like that in a way, right? Not that I felt that kind of pressure, but when an accomplished instrument rated commercial, whatever, just whenever somebody that's down the line from me is flying with me and is saying, I want, well, on one hand, it's really cool because it doesn't matter where you are. There's always something to glean from someone else. And it can be a minor detail that, really, maybe light bulbs something for you. But anyway, we had a just fine flight. It was super bumpy and, all that. But yeah. And I think what he said was that he appreciated my flows and that he wanted to maybe incorporate some of those, so that was really cool. I mean, I think that, it really does. I mean, we always talk about like checklists are not to-do lists and all that kind of thing. And I think that my impression was, I think that once you get into more instrument rating, challenging IMC flying, it's very procedural. And so you start to perhaps, at least from my perspective, I feel like people that fly a lot of IFR get so procedural in the flying, which you need to do. But then when you're coming back to just kind of VFR flying, it's like, don't forget to just be one with everything that's going on and run your flows and do your things and just use the checklist to back it up and relax about it. So I'm not saying he wasn't relaxed, but anyway, it was a really fun flight. We got back.
Was One Dull Geek your only passenger coming back?
No, also Mike Alpha Golf.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which was a pleasure to meet him. Wow. We had a lot of great conversations. So,
yes.
So yeah, he said, Wendell Geek says 2 big things, the flows and also the go-around announcement on downwind. Yeah, I think Wendell Geek's talking about how I usually try to say this before you're on final. Just when you're kind of getting set up and you're doing your gumps check or whatever you're doing on downwind, you're kind of just getting it together. It's more like casually mentioning like, yeah, and if I don't like what I'm seeing, we'll go around. You want to create the expectation in the passenger's mind that that's a potential outcome so they don't freak out if you all of a sudden are jamming power in. But at the same time, you don't want it to be the inverse where it's you're saying you don't want to be halfway down final, I don't think, right? And go, and if this ends up being sketchy, don't worry, like
if we're about to die, I'll go around.
So anyway, so that was great. Everybody got back okay, everything was cool. Then we all met up at Bringle's Smoking Oasis outside. It was big, a lot of people, loud crowds, bachelorettes, all the people, all the things. We recorded all the interviews. Everybody hung out. Scott Weckler came out, so he was the big celebrity rock star. And but we just had a great time. And then Ben, I want you to elaborate on what happened after that, because some of us went home
about this, and our friend Lord Alpha Juliet, we're sitting around, we're up on the pool bar. Okay, let's just start from the beginning. And there's 12 of us sitting around a table, joking and talking and laughing, having a great time. And AJ tells us that he's got this game called Heads Up. And it's a simple game. There's an app for your phone, and both teams choose a category. And then each person it goes back. So your team, you hold the phone up and it'll show a word, and your teammates have to give you clues as to what that word is, and you have to guess it. And you have like 15 seconds to guess the word, and whichever team gets the most words overall wins the game. And we love Lord Alpha Juliet, we do, but I think he kind of had this one rigged. I think he did our team like on a first grade level, and I think he did the other team on a master's level. So they start off in our team. I'm on AJ's team, and we get words like cat, horse, dog,
Kitten.
kitten, things that like take 1 second to describe. You can say meow and guess cat. You know what I mean? Super, super easy.
Or you can say
we
guard.
had to phone over to Jeff's team, Juliet Echo Foxtrot's team. And the first one, he starts it off and he gets newt, and then sea urchin, and then chinchilla. And it goes on and on and on, and like beaver. And I'm like, how do you even begin to describe a sea urchin to get somebody to guess that word? And it was just, we're laughing hysterically and over and over again. And we just kept going around. So I think we won like 37-5 or something like that. But I'm pretty sure AJ had the whole thing rigged.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Now,
there was also a little rearranging of a sound system as well that went on there.
So that pool area, there were a few things about it. The one was there's this great little corner with a table in it. It had a handful of chairs. It was a good spot to hang out. But we found out, I think it was that morning we'd gone to hang out, and the pool area wasn't open yet. But there's a room next to it. You can go through and get into the pool from there. So we're already kind of finding access to things. The problem was the elevator music, and it was terrible. Out in the pool area, it was too loud. Of course, there were only, I recognized Gem, the band, like a hacked version of her song, and somebody recognized one other. But for the most part, it's stuff that you have never heard, just too loud, very elevator music, and so we're kind of talking over it. And so my local friend Mark T had the same idea that a lot of us did, and found something tall, and I'm kind of small and flexible, so I climbed up on top of it and went up to the two speakers that were there. And I was really worried that those speakers were going to be really hard to get to, but they just had two spring connectors on them, and so pop one wire out of them, and all of a sudden this horrible music that's too loud just goes away. And
beautiful.
Yep.
So the question was, are you going to hook it back up? It's like, no, of course.
Why would we do that?
Back up. So
I did want to share.
The joke was that the reviews were going to improve when, all of a sudden it's like the pool area is so great. They wouldn't know why everything got so much better. So it was
like I said,
funny.
Every place in Nashville unnecessarily plays loud music. I mean, you go to the shopping center near my house, and they've got the landscaping with the rocks that are actually disguised as speakers.
Speakers, yeah.
And you're just trying to go to Target or something, and they are blasting music. It's just an annoying thing about Nashville, where it's like, this is Music City, so we have to do two things. One, we have to put a guitar on everything in whatever way possible. It's like the Portland put a bird on it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Put a guitar on it. And then number two, every place has to have live or very loud music, and there's no escape.
Yes.
So
I want to, if I can, share my screen. I have a picture pulled up just to give at least our viewing audience a little bit more clearer picture of what the game looked like. So you can see that's Mark T there. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we had it for a minute.
So, anyway, I thought it was really
it
was a fun game. We were all laughing really, really hard and really had a good time.
Yeah.
Well, so then we got through Saturday night. Ted did not get arrested. The hotel doesn't listen to this podcast, so we're all good. And then Sunday was departure day. And so we had a nice gathering Sunday morning. And then we proceeded to kind of go all our separate ways. And it was just sort of like it felt like summer camp ending, right? It was
The goodbyes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great though. It was really nice. And just to see then on the other side of it, just knowing, it just meant I was just so glad that people had a good time, because it's not easy to have a good time. And we all had a good time. So I was just pleased that on the other side of it, everybody was cool. And then Ted, you had a little bit of extra time. So we went on a little extracurricular adventure to go return my plane to its hangar in Bowling Green.
I got 2 rides in your plane over the weekend. The first was with Cheryl on Friday when we couldn't get into Charlie. And Cheryl said in the comments that it was her first ride as a passenger in GA.
Oh, yeah.
And she was really looking forward to that. She was looking forward to sitting in the back seat, which I was trying to get her to sit in the front. So, but I had a good time up there with you. So that's my first time in a Piper, which is really strange. So,
and what I loved is that we really, the only mission is to get up to Bowling Green, put the plane in the hangar, clean it up, secure everything, get out of there and come back.
Yep.
So that you can catch your flight. We're coming into Bowling Green. The winds are, 15 gusting 28 or whatever it was. And, and I was like, you want to do a couple landings? I came in first landing. I came in and I just did I was actually just like, we'll just do a full stop. Like, we don't need to be, we got stuff to do or whatever. And I taxied off. And then as I got clear of the runway, I was like, Ted, you want to keep flying? He was like, hell yeah, I want to keep flying. So taxied back. We took off again. We ended up doing about 4 or 5 landings in the pattern there. And it was so fun to see Ted's reaction to the Hershey bar wing.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, you can come in with speed and the thing still gets down. And that's just the opposite of what I'm used to. And so to see you come in and try lots of different things and do a power off 180, to bring it in with power too fast, to do, just kind of normal, imperfect landings. That was really fun. And we had a good time with that.
Yeah. And I don't want to have to be the one to bring it up, but do you remember the power off 180?
Yeah.
It was perfect.
It was perfect. Yep.
It was the best power off 180 I've ever done.
Yeah. And nobody there to observe it except for us. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that.
It wasn't on video. It didn't happen.
It was definitely not on video. But anyway, so all good. Ted got to see my hangar. And then we got back to town. But Ben, how was your trip home?
So we had it was Biff B and Chris C taking them back to Hartsfield by way of McCollum. And we also had AJ and Jeff in a 182 that we left a little bit ahead of them. And so there's this little challenge that was thrown down on the opposing bases chat room about daring somebody to do a challenge and acceptance, I think is how you do it, and a response, challenge and response, where somebody will call in penguin and then somebody responds with iceberg. So we were just close enough where I heard AJ check into Chattanooga Approach as we're making our way to Atlanta. And he checked in with Penguin 20 Charlie Foxtrot. Foxtrot Charlie, whatever his call sign is. So that was my cue. And then literally like a minute and a half later, Chattanooga Approach calls me and said, switch to Atlanta Center 134.1, whatever it was. And I said, Iceberg 911, switching to Atlanta Center. So AJ recorded it. So we were able to do that. But it was fun because neither Chris or Biff had spent any time in the clouds. And what was really awesome about our flight is we busted through one of them. We broke through one of them. But for a good portion, not a good portion, but there was a section where we were literally cloud surfing. We were right and peek through a top or go through a peak of a cloud. and it was fun to get to experience with them doing that for the first time. So that was fun, and had a easy trip back into McCollum.
Was Chris sitting right seat?
He was. Chris
Did
was
he
sitting
fly?
right seat.
Did he fly any of that?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Did he fly any of that in the clouds?
Did he fly?
Yeah.
No. The autopilot flew most of it.
Oh, okay.
All you're going to
True.
do is go
Yeah.
into FlightAware and see how level my altitude hold was, and know that it was not me flying; it was the autopilot.
Ted, your whole tone there was, it seemed like an FAA investigation.
Oh, no, not at all.
So deadpan, it's like, did Chris fly in the cloud?
No, it's just
Flying in the clouds.
what an opportunity to be able to do that, right? As a private pilot, and to be able to do it legally, because you're not PIC in that. And so,
Right.
But I was lower hours when we did that last time, and I was totally overwhelmed with just being in the plane with Ben. And so I didn't do any radio work or anything else that time.
Yeah. So,
Well, I want to say too that for some of the pilots that were with us on some of these flights or at the event that have a little bit less experience, say, than we do, right? Maybe 100 hours or whatever. I just loved seeing how eye-opening and valuable it was. I know that when I was at that point of about 100 hours, one of the biggest growth spurts that I had as a pilot was when we went to when I flew to the first midlife pilot event we did in the Outer Banks with Chris, and that whole experience raised my awareness and my confidence, so many things. And I'm just glad that a lot of people, it's not, these kinds of things are not just for those who feel like they're experienced enough to do it. It's a great reason to go somewhere and to stretch your limits a little bit, but knowing that you're coming to a place where there's going to be people that are there to help, and it's a little bit less daunting to kind of fall in the collective net of all the people there, as opposed to going out on your own to some random place and then feeling like, who am I going to call, or if I get confused, it's just
Right.
A really, really great step, I think. So we're definitely going to do it again, and I think that what I'd love to spend the last couple minutes on here is thinking about, one of my favorite things that I saw in terms of feedback about the event so far was, thank you for not over programming the event, and I think that we didn't mean to not over program it as much as we just acted at the capacity that we had to plan it. And that's how it worked out. But that's what I learned from the whole thing, is that it's a recursive theme that's, people just want to hang out. People want to make their own decisions. They want to come and go. I think we will make maybe a few changes the next time we do this. And if you have a location or a place, we've been dreaming and thinking of a lot of different places. It shouldn't be so much a maybe destination as much as just a pragmatic place that's cool, that has maybe a resort or hotel on site, or I don't know. We're trying to think about a lot of things, but we'd like to combine all these elements. So, but have it be centrally enough located to where people can come from all over. We're talking about a lot of things. So please, if you have any ideas about anything, really, email us at midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes. Yeah, there's one of the things I really liked about this, and these events kind of shape out the same way, but it's seeing what a fellow midlifer, how they fly. It's not necessarily having a CFI sitting next to you or sitting in a CFI's plane and seeing that. It's people that I'll use you, Ben, as the example. It's like people that have more hours than you that you respect, and how do they go through their flows? What do they take very seriously? And what are the things that aren't actually quite as important from, your hour 20 or, your ride with a DPE to your everyday flight. And I really liked that, sitting there flying with other pilots, seeing how they do things, I don't know if I gave anybody feedback, but seeing those differences is really it's really key.
I would like maybe even to do some more regional stuff. We've got a lot of listeners in Wisconsin. We got a lot of listeners in the West Coast, the Northeast. So, 2 times a year, maybe. Yeah, there's a lot being talked about. There's going to be more to come on this. I'm going to go ahead and say it one more time. I am super gratified. It's humbling to know that since Ted and I joined in September, that we've been able to grow this thing a little bit and help keep building the community that Brian and Chris Moran started. And it just makes me feel like the world's in a good spot when we all can get there. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about anything but flying, and that's it. So I want to thank everybody who came out to join us. It was exceeded all my expectations.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. Thank you everybody for showing up. And I just hope that most of the people that are listening did not come to this. What I want people to walk away from is just, or take away from this is not walk away from. What I want people to take away from this is that this is what it's all about. Make it happen, and look for a mission or a reason to go be around.
If you want us to help if you're a midlifer and you got some folks in your area, I'm happy to reach out, advertise it, try to put something together, and would like to join it if I can. But keep these suggestions and the feedback and all the questions coming. We'll bring up a few more things, maybe a couple of clips in the next couple of episodes to keep reminiscing about it, and maybe giving the rest of our audience, our listening audience, a little bit more flavor as to what we're talking about. That's really what I want them to take away.
Yes.
So, anything else, gentlemen?
Nope.
Well, let's wrap it up.
Actually, hang on. We do have one small thing we didn't talk about. So there is a limited edition T-shirt from this. This got spun out today. Got to blame Chrissy and Wendell Geek for this, but there was so much fun being had with the Heads Up game, and there is a shirt available on our merch store for Chinchillas, Beavers, and Newts, the Nashville Fly In. And that shirt is going to be up there probably for 2 or 3 weeks. So if you want one, grab it from there. It's printed front and back, and it's nice and strange and funny and limited time. We won't mention it again. It'll be in the doobly-doo though.
There we go. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all potting with me tonight. I know y'all aren't feeling the best, and I appreciate you pushing through, fighting through. You did well.
Thank you.
Can't say the same thing about me, but we're going to go ahead and close out episode 73 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Good night, everybody.